Well, the car broke. So yesterday I went to school in the morning, went to class, all day. Came back, pouring rain. Thank you, TJ, for driving me to my car. Got back in, and the car would start, but it's only running on one rotor. Now, I determined that it is the front rotor. I had a temp gun in my car, and I looked at the header. Front one was getting hot, the rear one wasn't. So, now I'm back today after leaving the car here overnight, and I need to figure out why. I think it's ignition. I think it might be the cap and rotor or the plug wire going to the leading plug on the rear rotor. I don't really know. I grabbed the cap and rotor off of Matilda on the plug wires because I am actually in the process of doing an electronic ignition conversion on that car, so I had the other stuff. So I grabbed it, and that's what we'll start with, is putting that on. But some of y'all may actually recognize this location. If you follow the Instagram, I post a lot of pictures of the cars right here because this is where I park to go to school. So I guess I will set y'all up closer and you can see me in a little bit of a time lapse here. Change out this cap and rotor and wires. Well, we got the car back. So in that first part of the video, you saw the car was broken down in that parking lot. I was angry. I didn't really film much. What I did was I cleaned the spark plugs, swapped them forward to back, and then put the distributor from the Matilda 79 RX7 onto it, and the car fired up. So I robbed parts from another car to save this one. Now, some of y'all may have noticed throughout these videos and how I work on this car. This car rarely gets new parts. That is because this car is kind of existent because it is made up of used race car parts. My family has raced first-gen RX7s for a really long time, and anytime a part came off the race car that was no longer deemed good for racing, well, I would deem it good enough to go on this car, and it would generally replace whatever was on here if it was worse. So this car is built of a bunch of used parts. Now, since this car really is my primary, daily driver, I figured I might actually throw some new parts at it. And I actually got a pretty much whole new ignition system for the car. I got a new cap, a new rotor, plug wires, and plugs. Now, when I bought the Matilda 79 RX7, it also came with an MSD coil that later in the video I will be putting it in. You'll see now I'm going to just install everything with the coils that are on it. That's because I don't have time right now to do everything I need to do to install that coil. So at the end of the video, I'll add in installing the coil. So I'll have to undo one plug wire at the end. So don't freak out. I am going to put that into this video. So we're here in a school parking garage because it's late and dark and I wanted to film this. So I will set you all up so you can see me start doing all this work. It'll probably just be a time lapse, honestly, because it's really pretty easy stuff. I just wanted to bring you all along for the ride. All the new stuff is on there. I had a little bit of an issue getting some of the plug wires to go on, but they all went on. So it's all new plugs, plug wires, cap, and rotor. So let's see how this thing starts up. Should run about the smoothest this thing's ever run. That's the most new parts it's ever had. Well, I'd say that's running pretty darn smooth right there. So I'd say this was definitely a success. So next time in this video, you'll see I will be replacing this coil, because I'll give you all a little walkthrough of how this works, if you don't know how a distributor works. So you have your coils here, you have your distributor, and then you have your spark plugs. So this is not like an old school points distributor. This is an electronic distributor. So it has these igniters there, and they send the signal to the coil on when to fire. And when it sends that fire, it goes into here, and then the spark goes onto the rotor, then onto the cap, and it goes down to the plug wires, which goes, makes the boom for the engine to turn. So the igniters, when they send their signal, they're sending their signal to the, I believe, the ground side of these coils. You have your trailing coil up in the front, and you have your leading coil in the back. But that's really it. There's not much to these old school ignition systems. Now you may notice there's some diaphragms on the side. Those were more with the emissions. They're to advance and retard the timing. I don't run a vacuum to it, and I think the car runs best without it. There is a mechanical advance inside the distributor, so essentially you can take that rotor and you can spin it a little bit when you have the cap off. There are weights and springs that, based off the RPM, they'll kind of shoot out and they'll advance the ignition. I believe in this distributor the max it does is 10 degrees, and it does it at like 2,000 RPM. So it's not much. But I think that's a good enough explanation of how this works. So next time you see it, I'll be installing that new coil. Well, it's time to continue improving this ignition system now. So this is filmed in two parts. I think I said it was. I actually filmed a while ago putting the new distributor, cap, and rotor in, new plug wires, and plugs. Now it's time for an upgrade rather than just replacement. This is an MSD Blaster 2 coil. It's a much stronger coil. Normally, I wouldn't be doing this. The coils are honestly fine that are there, but this came with the Matilda 79 RX7 when I got it. That car really doesn't need it, but I would like to put it on this one. So I have it. Now, these coils are special, and they have to be mounted vertically. They can't be mounted sideways like the factory coil is. So that's why I have all of this. I will be mounting this coil vertically right here on the inside of this strut, or strut tower right here. I got all of this stuff at Home Depot. It's something you could get yourself. I believe all in all, I spent about $7. So I will go through and start prepping these. So I'll give you just a quick overview of how this will work. I'll take these. These are meant to hold electrical conduit. They're a little small, but they fit around this coil. I have this foam to put on the inside of this so that it won't eat through the coil. Then I have two of them, and they will mount just like that onto these factory bolt holes right here in the strut tower. I don't remember what originally went there, but I took it out a long time ago. So these will mount like that, and I'll be able to tighten down the coil, and then I will show you wiring it up. So I guess we will get to it. I'll move over and start putting the foam in and just kind of mock everything up. The coil is now all mounted up. Can't move it left, right, up, down. These little conduit mounts worked out really, really well. So now it's time for the wiring. Here's the current leading coil, ground positive. I will need to extend those wires to get them over here. Now, the MSD coil requires a resistor if you're not using an MSD box. So I have this resistor right here. Not entirely sure where I'll mount it yet, but I will. Your 12 volt, which is this side, will go in, and then it'll go to the positive side. Then over here, you have your igniter signal right there. That I will extend over to the negative side. And then I have this right here. This is a trigger for, I believe, my AFR gauge. So with that, I will go through and I will wire it. I'm going to wire it off camera. I feel like there's plenty of time lapse in this video of me making the mount, and it'll just be easier for me to explain what I did for the wiring once I have it done. So I'll get back to you once the wiring is done. It's all wired up now, so I'll give you a real quick rundown of what I did. This right here is the original power wire for the original coil. I mounted the resistor right here for a bolt hole that was just already there. Then I ran this power wire over here to the new coil. This wire, your car will probably not have it, so we'll ignore it. This right here is your igniter trigger that I just needed to extend. So I just put a little spade connector down into it and extended it over. And then just the plug wire snapped down into it. Super simple. I will probably get an insulator to go over here because that is positive when the key is in the on position. So that's really it for this video. I did verify too the car does run like this. So in this video we went through, we did a distributor cap, rotor, plug wires, plugs, and a new coil. See how nice that looks down in there. So that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Maybe this will help you if you have any issues when you're trying to install your own MSD coil. Remember, if you are thinking about it, it has to be mounted vertically. But that's it. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. I know I've enjoyed doing this because now the car is going to run a lot better. especially after I had done just the regular ignition maintenance. I had been putting crappy parts in it, and the car was just not at its peak. But it's been running really good since I did the cap, rotor, wires, plugs. So that's going to be it. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.